Hello everyone, Benny the Bee here. This is going to be my first video in a long time, but wanted to make this to help others that may be looking for something like this. I normally do not make tech content, but will probably make some here and there just to help spread any knowledge I can. In this video, I'll be going over how to have Mac-based VLAN assignment for UniFi wireless networking, using a Windows Network Policy Server with Radius. This will work under one SSID to help separate multiple devices into multiple VLANs. Just as a note though, UniFi Mac-based VLANing does not have a fallback VLAN if the device fails to authenticate with the Radius server. So say you have your main VLAN, VLAN 1, and on your Mac-based VLAN assignments, you have VLAN 10, 20, 30, and based on the MAC address, it'll plop it into 10, 20, or 30. Well, if you want things that don't authenticate with Radius to fall back to VLAN 1, that's just not possible. You'll have to create another SSID for just VLAN 1. So that, yeah, if it fails to authenticate with Radius, it doesn't get an IP. It just can't connect at all to that wireless network. So there are a couple of prerequisites. There will be Windows Server 20. You'll need Windows Server 2012, 19, or 2022 with Network Policy Server installed. You'll need the UniFi Network Controller and UniFi Network APs. On the Windows Server, you need to make sure that the password requirements for accounts is set to no complexity. Well, complexity being disabled, and that the minimum length has to be no greater than 12. So let's get started here. So if you haven't already installed your network policy server, go ahead and start that. Just go through this, do role-based, make sure you click your server, and then it's going to be the network policy and access services right here. Under features, and I don't think you need anything specific underneath features. So you can then go ahead and go through it, confirm it, and install it. If it requires a reboot, go ahead and give it a reboot. Before you get into that as well, I did have issues myself with getting Radius to pass through to my server. So I did go into my firewall, and I did go and allow my UniFi AP to be passed through to allow the Radius VLAN. You can do that by doing a new rule. You can choose custom, all programs, protocol any, and then you can specify the IP address that you want it to go through. So in my case, 1.17. You can click next, allow, name it. I choose private domain for the name. Just do like UniFi AP Radius, something like that. You can name whatever you want to be. So you do want to add every single AP that this is going to be broadcasting from in these allowed IP area. So I do have a GitHub document outlining this that I'll include in the description that you can follow along with as well. The documentation is kind of subpar. That's what I do apologize, but you can somewhat follow along. So next, I use Active Directory, so I'm going to be using it there. I think you can use the local users and computers, but you'll want to go to users and computers. And then I would recommend creating a new OU for the specific accounts that you're going to be creating. Right, like here I have it set for Radius. I have an OU called Radius. So for this, you're going to want to create a security group, and you're going to want to name it something that you'll recognize. So for me, I'm going to name it UniFi Radius VLAN, and I'm going to say VLAN 10 because I want anything that's going to be in this group to be on VLAN 10. And then for your, so in order for the device to authenticate, you're going to need to create a new user, and the name you can put anything you want. I don't think you have to put anything. But for this, I'm going to put just some details. User logon name, this is going to be your device's MAC address. It's going to be all lowercase and no separations, like no colons, no dashes, any of that. So you're going to use that for both the user logon name and you're going to do it for the password. Make sure that password never expires, and that will make sure that's unchecked as well. So after that's created, you'll want to go into member of, and you're going to want to add it to the UniFi radius group that you just created, and then hit apply. Next, we're going to go on to the network policy server. So from here, you're going to want to go to Radius Clients and Servers, go to Radius Clients, and you're going to want to add everything that, all the APs at least in here. I have more just in case the requests come from everywhere else, but only thing I've seen it come from in the logs are the APs. So just make sure you have like the APs that are broadcasting from in here. So you can right click on Radius Client, click New, friendly name, just name it whatever you want it to be to identify it. So I'll just create a copy of the one I already have. So bedroom AP, address, IP, whatever you want it to be. And then for secret, you're going to want to create a secret password type thing for the AP to authenticate back to your Radius server with to be able to authenticate your device. So if you're having multiple APs, make sure you use the same secret for each of the clients. So after you get all of those created, you can go over here to policies, network policies, and we're going to create a new one. So this one I'm going to name wireless radius VLAN 10. Leave this as unspecified. Click next. We're going to add a condition here, Windows groups, and we're going to add the group that we just made as well. So UniFi radius VLAN 10. Click next. Access granted. EAP types, choose PEEP. Now I do have these also clicked on for now because just at the time I'm creating this, I haven't fully tested which ones are not needed. Just make sure at least that this one's not checked. Leave this unchecked. If you can, if in your testing you get it to work without this one checked, that would even be better. But for now, I am keeping it checked as I have not fully tested. Here you can just hit next. And then in here, you're going to want to remove these. Actually, that security one we still needed, but we'll go ahead and recreate that. So you're going to want to go to down here to private group ID. Now the private group ID is going to be the VLAN you wanted to assign to. So in my case, I'm doing it to VLAN 10. So then we're going to go to add again. Nope, not here. Not add there. I'm going to go here. We're going to do type. And then we're going to choose add. Commonly used for 802.1x and make sure it's VLAN. Click OK. And then we're going to also want medium type. Click add, and then 802. There's one more that we need because I accidentally deleted it, but that's going to be the security type, service type. So you're going to want to do commonly used for 802.1x and then framed. Now it should look exactly like this. And then you can go to encryption, make sure no encryption is unchecked. Click next, and then finish. And then make sure that this is processed. I'd recommend it processed higher up in the chain. So from there, we're going to now go into our UniFi controller. We're going to go to settings, profiles, and you're going to want to add in this. You're going to click on create new radius profile, and then you're going to go in and name your profile. And make sure you click on that to enable it. I'm just going to go back and show you that the one I already have created. So for your radius auth server, make sure your IP address is the IP of your Windows server that's running network policy server. Port is going to be 1812, and the password shared secret is going to be the one I had you create earlier. Put that in both of. Put that in there. Make sure the IP address is the IP of your Windows server running NPS, port of 1812, and your password shared secret is the one we created earlier. I enable accounting just so I get all of the logs from my UniFi authorization attempts, and then interim update will want to enable that and just keep it at the default 3600. If you do enable accounting server, just have the same IP as your Windows running NPS with port 1813 instead of 1812, and then same password secret that we created earlier. So from here, we're going to want to go ahead and So from here, we're going to go to wireless networks, and let's create a new one. So here we're going to name it Benny Test. I'm going to keep it as an open network myself, but you can enable a password on it just for an increased protection. We're going to click Advanced Options. We're going to scroll all the way down to Radius MAC Authentication. Enable Radius MAC Authentication. Radius Profile, click Windows Radius Server. MAC address format, choose the top one with all lowercase, and leave this unchecked. You'll click Save. Missing AP groups. So I'm just going to choose, I created a test group, so we're going to make sure that that's the ones that we have it's broadcasting on. Well, you don't have to do it, just all APs would work for you if all of your APs, but I'm currently at the max amount of SSIDs I can broadcast at currently. So we'll save. We'll wait for our device to provision. So after it comes back after it's provisioned, on your device, when you go to your Wi-Fi, you should hopefully see it. And then go ahead and hit connect. Now if all is working, it should connect based off the settings we defined earlier. Now if you're connecting from like an iOS device, make sure that you do have private Wi-Fi address turned off, as that will interfere with us creating that user account we had earlier. You can see I authenticated, and if I scroll down, we can see I am getting that VLAN 10 IP. So I'm going to create another account real quick just to show that you can have multiple on the same Wi-Fi at the same time with different VLANs. So I'm going to create another user, and this time I'm going to do my iPad. Make sure again it does not expire. Click finish. And remember that we want it to be at least a member of, well, we gotta create a new group now because we're gonna want it on a different VLAN. So UniFi, VLAN, UniFi, radius, VLAN 2. So on my iPad, I'm going to go member of UniFi, radius, VLAN 2, click apply. So after you have it added to the group, you can go ahead and make a second wireless policy. So new, we'll do wireless radius VLAN 2. Remember to leave that as unspecified. Add Windows group UniFi. We're going to use VLAN 2. Okay, next. Access granted. Remember, I'm just doing all of them right now, as I haven't tested it fully for which ones don't work yet. We'll skip this. And then remove that. Edit. Framed. tunnel type, add VLAN, private group, add 2. Then we'll do medium type, add 802. Okay, close. Then encryption, uncheck that. Next, finish. Then we'll move this up. Now, since we already have it all configured in UniFi, we shouldn't need to do anything else in a sense. Alrighty, and then on the network again, on your other device, make sure you turn off private address. And when we join, we see that authenticated. And this is my guest network. The VLAN 2 is my guest network, so we can see I'm getting that. Actually, I want to show it as working, so I'm going to go and change this real quick to be VLAN 3 rather than 2. Actually 4, because that's going to be one that I know works. So if we forget this network, test, unable to join, give it a second, unable to join. Are you unable to join? Okay, so I gotta figure it out. There's a combination of issues. There was my device was still proxying a MAC address even though it was set to disabled for private Wi-Fi address, as well as the access point in question didn't have access to VLAN 4, so it couldn't dish out the VLAN 4 IP address. But now that it is all working, if we go to clients here, we can see that both of them are connected to the same SSID but different VLANs. So it does show that, you know, it does work. You can have multiple VLANs with just one SSID, but again, just remember that there is no fallback. So if a device fails to authenticate with Radius, it can't connect. There is no default VLAN that it'll connect to if it fails. So that's how you set up Mac. So that is how you set up Mac-based VLAN with Unified Network. If you have any issues, you can always reach me at my GitHub page, Benny Dubby, instead of Benny the Bee, as well as you can leave a comment in the video, and I will respond it when I see it. So that is how you set that up. Like I said, if you guys have any issues, please feel free to reach out. Other than that, hope you guys have a good day.